Hi, this is Sean again. So we get a question, why are my invoices showing up in my profit and loss when they haven't even been paid? So today I'm going to cover that. It's quite noisy, it's very hot, and so my windows are open, so please excuse the noise. Okay, let's start. Okay, so if we look at our invoices, here we've got two paid invoices. So these total 750. So if we go to our accounting reports, and we look at our profit and loss now, we'll need to, let's leave this on accrual to start off with. If we have a look at the detail, what we'll see that our sales of products is 600, our sales of service is 150. So these two make up those two invoices, because the one line item is a service, the other line items are products. If we click on this, we'll see that this is invoice 2 and 4, and for products. And if we go back to the profit and loss and we look at the service, we will see that this is invoice 2. So invoice 2 has got both services and products on it. Right, so that all makes sense, and these are showing up correctly. So what happens when we create a new invoice? So let's go to create a new invoice. So I'm going to create a new invoice, select a client, and I'm just going to do a product, and we'll make this 10 so we can see a slightly larger number. So this is $2,000. So if I save and review this, at the moment this is in our open status is equivalent to draft. So this is in draft, so nothing will show up anyway. But if we send this or use the get share link, which is a similar thing, so I'm just going to use the get share link, you'll notice that this is now navigated to send. So this invoice is now created and sent. So if we go to our reports, what we will see is we will see this invoice recorded in the income. So if I switch to detail again, we will now see that this sales of products is showing 2,600. This is including the new invoice, the 05 invoice, even although this invoice is only sent. So what's going on here? So the reason why this is showing up is because this accounting method is set to accrual. So accrual method, it says that when you've sent that invoice, you are expecting income back in return, and that income is counted at the point of sending. So that's the one method that you record. You are due, that income is due, therefore it is counted, and you need to pay tax on that, even although you haven't received payment. The other method of accounting is cash. So if you switch this to cash, you'll notice that this drops down. That invoice is no longer included in this, because this is now using the cash method of accounting, and the cash method only accounts for the payments that you have received. So if we look into the sales of products, you'll see that this no longer has this does, because on accrual it didn't switch by default. So on cash it no longer has the amount. So what you can do is, in your accounting settings, you can actually switch your default branch. So if you only want to be using cash, you can switch this to cash and just use the cash, and that will be respected on the lists and on the reports. And that's why we saw accrual when I linked over to that list. So that's the reason why you are seeing that. So if I went to this invoice, for example, and I open this up, and let's say I made a payment of 1,000. Okay, I'll just do this. Okay, so now this invoice is considered partially paid, but we haven't said where this 1,000 has come from in accounting terms. So let's have a look at the reports again and see what's happened in the reports. So now we're on cash method, right? So you'll notice that we're still only seeing 600 in this, and we're not seeing the 1,000 that has been paid. And the reason for that is that 1,000 needs to come from somewhere, right? So we need to, we haven't said, even although we said this invoice is paid, we haven't said where it's been paid from. So what would usually happen in this case is if you had your banks connected, or if you were manually adding this and you went to your, your chart of accounts and you had just added in your bank account, you could, you would match it from here. So I'm just going to use the default bank account, and I'm going to say that in this we had an in transaction. This is the payment of 1,000 into our bank account, and we'll just call this deposit, right? So if this was automated and your bank was connected, you would see something like this. When you came to your transactions in the morning, you'd see, oh, I've got 1,000 in. Now what must I do with this? Well, now you need to match it. So what we'll do is we'll show matches, and we will see, actually I've got this match of 1,000, and I'm just gonna, this is a payment, so I'm gonna choose this. Okay, so now what we've done is we've basically created the other side of the transaction. We've said, okay, this money has come in to the bank account, and I've linked it to the payment of the invoice. So now let's update that. Okay, so now you can see we have this payment. If I go back to the invoice, you can see this partial, but now when I open it up and I look at this payment, you can see this payment now has a link to say, look, this money has come from, the Chase bank account. And so if I go back to reports, what we will see now, even on the cash method, is we will now see that this has been allocated. So let's have a look at the detailed. Right, so we can now see that this 1,600 has been allocated, and I'll put this over to cash, and we can see that this is now the cash amount of 1,000, and that's been allocated. So that's the reason why your invoices are showing up, because you are using, or potentially using, the cash method, the accrual method, instead of the cash method. Okay, so I hope that helps. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the description, in the comments below, and yeah, thanks.